fat, salt, sugar. The most common addictive substances sold in a bodega.
It's synthetic marijuana. On the street, it's called spice or K2.
But in some cases, much harder stuff is for sale.
K2, before legislation was put in place to make it illegal, was something that you could sell over the counter.
And there's khat. No, not cat. Khat. The choice of many bodega owners.
Khat is like extra coffee. It's like a very hard espresso coffee.
Ali, make some fresh coffee, Ali.
In some halal markets, caffeine is the biggest high you can find. But can you do business if there's no beer?
Yes, if I go to a store and I ask for something, it's not there. Then next time if I want something, I will think twice about going there, to tell you the truth.
This week, our bodega shopping list is all vices. My granny was born in 1933, the final 12 months of America's 13-year constitutional ban on the production, importation, transportation, and sale of intoxicating liquors. And anytime she was offered an adult beverage, she always gave the same response. I've never drank anything stronger than a Pepsi-Cola. My granny was a woman of her time, but oh, how times have changed. The buttoned-up, bonneted ladies of the Temperance League have given way to the bikini babes of million-dollar beer ads. It's hard to believe that the 99 bottles of beer on the wall were the fuel that powered criminal syndicates from Brooklyn to Chicago to LA. And if we're talking vice, beer is kid stuff. Organized crime took that beer money and spun it into prostitution, narcotics, gambling, and extortion. Yeah, vice was very nice to the criminal underworld. But how kind do you think time will be to the pot dealers turned inmates as legalized marijuana blows its way into New York State? Restorative justice aside, as our attitudes about substances and the people who use them shift, today's vice may be tomorrow's bodega buy. The 2017 National Survey on Drug Use and Health, conducted by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, found about 140 million Americans aged 12 or older were current alcohol users, and 1 in 9, or about 30 million people, aged 12 or older, used illicit drugs, namely cannabis and non-prescribed prescription pain relievers. Now, those numbers only tell part of the story about our national relationship to the hard stuff. Nearly 20 million Americans over 12 have a substance use disorder related to their alcohol or illicit drug use. But you need look no further than a block in Bed-Stuy one hot summer day to see the devastating effects drugs can have, and the healing power that can come with compassionate enforcement. That's just one of the choices our leaders and elected officials made. What about the makers and merchants who deal in products they wouldn't even consume out of religious conviction or simple distaste? Then there's the personal decisions that each of us face as we negotiate our relationship with substances, both illicit and inane. So, here's to good choices as we go in on Vice.
Some are comparing this latest crisis to the city's crack epidemic.
The New York Post calls it Zombie Land. The Daily News, Street of Zombies.
People call them K2 zombies. That's because that's exactly what they look like when they're high. And the scene today, it really looked like something out of Night of the Living Dead. Users mindlessly stumbling through the streets of Bed-Stuy in the middle of the day, passing out on the street, twitching and vomiting.
It's synthetic marijuana. On the street, it's called Spice, or K2. The drug is so strong, people go into a zonked-out state. Sometimes it can even turn peaceful people into crazies.
But they weren't crazies. Summer of 2016 saw hundreds of New Yorkers under the influence of synthetic cannabinoids, a chemical cocktail made to mimic cannabis, but delivering an addictive effect more similar to heroin. Bought in bodegas across the city, it was a $5 high that pushed Brooklyn's medical infrastructure to the brink.
Between the 19th of May 2018 and the 22nd of May 2018, we had 84 cases within 3 days, 84 cases of K2 overdose. And those cases were geographically clustered. Over 80% of those cases came from the same neighborhoods on Metro Avenue and Broadway.
It's unfortunate because I think that there were tough times in communities like this, and especially in that intersection. You know, there was a period when Broadway was burned to the ground. And the only stores that were there were bodegas. So the bodega served as, you know, your de facto grocery store. It served so many purposes and transformed over the years, and people have used it, quite frankly, to traffic drugs in the past, illegal substances, everything from marijuana. The funny thing was K2, before legislation was put in place to make it illegal, was something that you could sell over the counter. Right. Initially, a lot of people, when the legislation was passed, didn't even know that now it was illegal for them to sell. So what happened was it actually evolved from the sale inside bodegas to what we call runners, who were loosely associated with those bodegas, who were doing the sales on the street, again, loosely associated with the bodegas, because that had become a very lucrative business for a bodega. That, cigarettes, and beer.
All device.
All the devices in one place.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to tell a store owner when, you know, 20% of his revenue is generated around those three substances to be a good corporate citizen in the community. But what we know is when people were educated, when people were penalized in some degrees, we saw a tremendous change in the attitudes around the sale from bodegas. But bodegas are a central part of interaction in communities of color and have been for a long time.
These laws together send a clear message to anyone who sells this poison. We will find you and we will stop you. And our message to anyone who uses the drug and needs help is we are here to help you. Help is available, treatment is available, so people can get out of the clutches of this awful drug.
Our city is not alone in the fight against K2. Scenes similar to Bed-Stuy 2016 have played out in New Haven, Connecticut, Washington, D.C., and Manchester in the United Kingdom, where 60 to 90% of the street homeless were users before the government banned the so-called legal high. Beyond just say no and the old egg in the frying pan demo, New York City undertook a three-pronged approach to eradicating K2: legislate, enforce, and rehabilitate.
What I would say is that we've actually begun to decrease the amount of usage through many means. One is NYPD focused primarily on the supplier and not the user, which was unique for our communities, right? Because usually the end user, whether it's marijuana, whether it's heroin, is really the target. And this time there was a collaborative effort around going after who was manufacturing and who was supplying, and then providing the end user with the services necessary to get help, which was something that I hadn't seen before from our community. Usually when law enforcement shows up, it's primarily to make arrests, right? They're not social service, we understand that. But they took a different approach here. And so did the legislators took a different approach here to begin to reduce the harm by impacting those that looked to sell, distribute, manufacture. It's obvious that the law enforcement heavy model around substance and alcohol abuse hasn't worked, right? I don't think we've seen a reduction based on arrest, but we have seen a reduction based on, I believe, empathy and compassion for the end user.
At some bodegas, a pack of cigarettes can set you back $14, but the cost of a lifetime of smoking can't be totaled in dollars and cents. Although you can't get hooked if you never get started.
My name is Edric, and I am the manager of a program called Reality Check. A Reality Check is a teen program that empowers teens against tobacco control.
You've been rolling with this initiative for 5 years now.
What the program does best is it finds students and it empowers them to be representatives for their own community, but it teaches them civil responsibility. Part of the project that I'm going to go over with you guys is called RC Voices. We want to find out, what do teens actually know about these issues, right? So these are teens from all across the city answering this question: what do you know about tobacco? Do you think the number of high school students in Brooklyn smoking e-cigarettes is greater than the number of students smoking tobacco? Definitely. I think the number is about 12,000 Brooklyn high school students currently smoke e-cigarettes in the borough. It's just something that we need to really take a look at and try to educate them younger. And that's part of this program, Reality Check, is reaching out to teens where they are. I'm going to start with you right here. Can you read that first question for me?
What do you know about electronic cigarettes, e-cigs?
All right, so think about your answer for that question, right? I think there's a movement of teens just through Reality Check, and it's not only in Brooklyn, that are really banding together and speaking up and raising their voices, because sometimes if you don't hear the voices, you're like, oh, they're fine with it. They don't think this is a problem. But when you have students on the front line saying, no, we know it's a problem, we know we're being marketed to, and we're not tolerating it, makes a bigger impact. First answer that comes to your head, and kind of refine that.
I'm a Muslim, but nobody's perfect. Even like I wouldn't consider myself practicing Muslim, because there's times where it gets in the way of, religion and stuff like that. Fresh coffee. Ali, make some fresh coffee, Ali.
Yeah, all right.
No, it was like 20 minutes. If you don't like it, we'll make another one for you.
So I walked in, and this is the most well-organized, well-stocked bodega, corner store. What do you guys say?
We're in Queens.
Okay.
I see like bodega is like a Brooklyn Bronx thing.
Right.
But you can consider a bodega.
The point is, you have everything but
beer. We said, okay, you know what? We're not going to bring in beer. We're not going to apply for that. But we're going to bring in everything. Whether it was burgers, salads, chickens, both had meat, juices, smoothies.
You have 20 different kinds of tea, cold brew, hot food. There's marinara sauce, peanut butter and jelly.
Cereal, man. I try to carry all of the crazy cereals, man. Because there used to be a supermarket, to tell you the truth, up the block. After they closed, we actually started doing good doing cereal.
So at our home bodega, he said the #1 sellers by far is beer and water. And I gave him a hard time about the water, because I'm like, no way, water is your #1 seller. But he said, well, beer and water.
With beer, it's just like a religious thing for us. I've had a store with beer, to tell you the truth. I had a store in Brooklyn. We had everything, like beer. It was in Greenpoint, beer, food, and everything. But it didn't work out,
is there anything in the religion or the teaching that says, okay, it's fine if you're like a merchant and you're selling these things, if you're not eating the bacon?
No, it actually states in the Quran, whoever sells it, even though you're not drinking it, like you said, or whatever, whoever buys it, like even if you touch it or anything like that, it's like forbidden. But people still do forbidden stuff, you know, whether you're a Muslim, Christian.
No, not me.
It's not about that. I don't judge, you know, I don't judge. I'm not doing a good job, Anthony. You're doing a bad job. Whatever you read in the Quran, it's the way you explain it to yourself. To me, it's halal. You know, it's cornflakes. It's not. There's no gelatin or any pork, you know, thing that says.
Jello.
Jello. I try to take it out too, to tell you the truth. So you got me. I threw out. So you should see how much I threw out. But But look, the way I go with it is the K.
Okay.
See the K?
The kosher.
Yes. My father, that was the first thing that he also taught me. Like when we got here, I was 11 years old. So he's explaining to us, how do you know which one is pork, which one is not? I'm gonna do like my father does. We used to go, you know, grocery shopping with him. Like in the supermarket, you know, the aisles, he would start fixing them the same thing. Because he's so used to it. I used to work in my father's store in Bedford-Stuyvesant when I was, you know, 15, 16. I used to bag beer, fill up beer, you know, stuff like that. They had to sell, you know, beer. That was the only option. That's what people wanted, you know. But nowadays, you know, you have options. You can make it. I know a lot of friends that open up stores similar to us. You know, no beer, no pork, and they making money. So there's an option. Like you could see, you see it. There's people. He's making money, doing it the right way. And I know, and I have family too that still sell beer and stuff like that. But it's their choice. It's not when it comes to religion, it's a personal choice.
How do you think selling beer would have affected your bottom line? Do you think like it would have helped your growth faster?
It would have. I would. That's correct. It would have helped me because it took me a while, to tell you the truth, to make a profit.
Yeah.
You know, it took us about a year and a half from the day we started. We opened up about May 2015, and it took us a while. You know, like I think any business, you don't make money. It's impossible. Unless you have a golden idea or gold mine, you would make money the first day. But it did take us a while. You got to build a reputation. This is one of my neighbors, but he doesn't like me. He's always into other people's business. Come on, Saeed, come. Yeah, you lived here longer than me. He was born on this block. It's like this guy, he's Egyptian, I'm from Yemen. But we got to know each other, you know, we were from the same culture and same everything.
It's different dialect?
Yeah, I mean, it's different, but we understand each other. But he's lived here, your whole life, right?
Yeah, my whole life.
He lived here, and his whole life is on this block. And now we're friends now. Are we friends?
Yeah, maybe sometimes.
Sometimes. I think it's like every grocery store is like that. You know, there's always a super, there's always a lady like Cherry. That's what I found out too. Even like my other stores, this is like a community center. Okay, if they want something like milk or water or sandwiches or whatever, and then, you know, we gotta be nice. Give it to him. Thank you, brother. No problem. Thank you. I think when you come to New York City, you love it. Everybody falls in love with this. Anything you need is here.
A store like yours.
I don't have except beer. What does this here mean? You buying?
Do you ever get any pushback from students when you're in a school environment and they say it's not that big a deal? I do it when I feel like it. It's not a big deal.
I definitely get pushback saying, well, it's not as bad as regular cigarettes.
But it isn't, right?
I would say that maybe, but I would think that nicotine is still bad for you. These are teens, they're still developing themselves.
If you're vaping, do you guys consider that the same as smoking?
I feel like it's the same thing.
Yeah. as smoking.
I feel like it's different because cigarettes has a strong smell and vaping it has like a soft one. I have heard that vape is worse than cigarettes, but I feel that, yeah, it's the same thing.
So what's the difference then?
With the Juul,
Yeah.
it only has 0.5% nicotine. It doesn't have like tobacco or anything in it. But an actual cigarette has like tobacco and all that bad stuff for you. The Juul is not bad. It's just like flavor, but just has nicotine.
But cigarettes is like pure smoke that hurts your lungs. Although they both hurt your lungs, but like some are like worse.
I don't think that there's a difference. I just think that they're both designed to keep you in that situation, and they're both designed to take your money, like for long periods of time. So I don't think there's a difference.
Khat and bodega, it goes together. Why? Because you're wasting time sitting down all day long, and the first thing that goes to their mind is how to chew khat and make them more stronger, give them energy, and start doing things in the store. My name is Maher Mohammed Ad-Dalam. Everybody around here knows me by EK. I own this bodega. I was born in North Yemen. I came to the US in 1996, which I was about 9 to 10 years old. Khat is like extra coffee. It's not as weed, it's not as drugs, it's not as cocaine people think, but I tell you, it's like a very hard espresso coffee. I do not chew khat in the United States. Yes, in Yemen, but not in the United States. Why? Because it is very dangerous.
In the past, it used to be used by farmers to get them motivated or activated in the afternoon to go out to the farm and cultivate and do the work, because it has that stimulant qualities, like like getting a jolt of caffeine. In Yemen, yes, it is accepted, it's popular, it's actually considered part of the cultural tradition, and therefore not only it's accepted, but it's sometimes protected.
Khat, it's something that I could say about 50 to 60 million people chewing it in Africa and Yemen, and now it's spread all over the world. People chewing khat in the United States because they want to follow the traditional of back home. They think is the same, but it's not. The difference between the khat from home and the khat up here is old. It's very old. It's very dry. Khat is not supposed to be dry. Khat is supposed to stay fresh for 2-3 hours. After 2-3 hours, you cannot chew it because it turns to poison.
We have found that khat chronically used, especially when it's combined with other substances, primarily tobacco. We found that the combination is very harmful. In a way, it is not dissimilar to what you see with amphetamine, and that's why sometimes people say it's as bad as amphetamine.
Other people that I know is a big habit. They cannot get rid of it. They cannot stop chewing it. It's like if they didn't chew it every day, I think their teeth will start itching and feel like they have to chew it no matter what. Even if a person doesn't have it, he will pay hundreds of dollars just to get it and chew it. They take that risk because they get addicted to it. I think it's mixed with something that's very bad that will make you get addicted to it.
The growth of its use among minors has been, to people like me, has been alarming. Regardless of whether we agree or disagree on its harm, it's just any time you expose a growing brain or a growing individual to any form of mind-altering substance, you don't know what you're doing. You could be causing harm.
I think a khat come to United States in different ways. It could be by mail, it could be by boat or ship, it could be by diplomatic passports like I told you. It could be from England, it could be from Israel, it could be from Kenya, it could be from Africa, it could be from a lot of different countries. The neighborhood is changed to the better, but everything is going so high, rent is going so high. Business is also slowing down because everything is going up in the neighborhood, especially real estate and things like this. But it's to the better. No more problems, no more killing, no more gunshots, no more problems like it used to be back in the days. Most of the people know how life is back in the days in the Middle East. It was a poor place. There was no future. So my father decided to bring us here so we could have a better life. I miss Yemen more than everything. Yemen is life. Yemen is our heart. Yemen is our first and last place. Yes, we love this place too. It's good to be a United States citizen, but we're nowhere better than home. Home is home.
Thanks for going in with us on Vice. If you've developed a habit for these stories, you can check them plus past episodes out at our home on the web at youtube.com/BRIC TV.
After 3 seasons of going in, we've met a lot of people and been a lot of places. But there's no place quite like the bodega. Every neighborhood's got one. And this season, we'll be telling stories of where you live through the lens of a bodega in Brooklyn.